Well, how close can it get? Good to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary as we come to you from the Center for American Progress, Washington, D.C. Americans on the edge of their seat all the way until the final decision by the Iowa Democratic Party was made today, the final calculation that Hillary Clinton has won the Iowa caucus in a I don't know if it was a record turnout, but I don't know if there's ever been a finish at 0.20%. 0.2%. It's not too often we deal in margins as that, but it was a knockdown drag out. It was a heavyweight fight. I don't know if there's any losers in this because the campaigns don't change much. Now, here's the deal. 170,000 Democrats showed up to caucus on Monday in Iowa. It's 49.8% to 49.6%. The Sanders campaign says that they want to see the paperwork, but they're going to move forward and pivot to New Hampshire, and that they're not going to contest it. The state delegate number is 701 to 697, and virtually you could call it a tie. By a flip of the coin in 6 different instances, it goes to Hillary Clinton for some strange way. But anyway, she won the flip of the coin, and she leaves the state with 22 delegates, and Bernie Sanders goes with 21. But interesting enough, she was ready to call for victory last night.
What a night! An unbelievable night! What a great campaign! This has been an incredible honor to campaign across Iowa with so many of you to make the case for the kind of future we want for the Democratic Party and for the United States of America. So as I stand here tonight, breathing a big sigh of relief, thank you, Iowa. I want you to know I will keep doing what I have done my entire life. I will keep standing up for you. I will keep fighting for you. I will always work to achieve the America that I believe in, where the promise of that dream that we hold out to our children and our grandchildren never fades, but inspires generations to come. Join me. Let's go win the nomination. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Okay, well, that was last night before it was called. Most of the networks got done at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't know who the heck won, but Hillary did, and it was made official today, as I said, by the Democratic Party of Iowa. So here's Bernie Sanders. He pivots to New Hampshire with a lot of positives and a big lead in the poll at 54 to 37%.
Thank you so much. As you know, we just got in from Iowa, where we astounded the world. Now in New Hampshire, we're going to astound the world again.
He goes on to say this in an interview earlier today.
We look forward to doing well here in New Hampshire. And after that, we're off to Nevada and then South Carolina, where I think we're going to surprise a whole lot of people, just as we did in Iowa.
And do you anticipate contesting this vote count at all?
Honestly, we just got off the plane, and we don't know enough to say anything about it. Okay.
And the word is, as of late, they will not contest it, but they do want to see the paperwork. So that's where we stand at this hour, middle of the afternoon, the day after the caucus. You can get this podcast at WeGotEd.com, rawstory.com, and ringofireradio.com. Thanks for the listen. Thanks for the download. It's never been this close. 1,600 delegates plus, and it turns out to be a flip of the coin. When we come back, Lanny Davis, very close associate to the Clintons, will pack it down for us and tell us exactly what's happening as they move to New Hampshire. We're right back after this on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, WeGotEd.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit. Good to have you back with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. The News with Ed on RT America, Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock. Join me tonight. Full recap of everything that has unfolded politically in this country. It is hot as it can be as both candidates now move to New Hampshire and battle it out for the first primary. First caucus is history, a razor-thin victory for Hillary Clinton. Martin O'Malley is now in the locker room. He says he's had enough. He barely moved the meter in Iowa. So it's a two-person race. What does it mean? Bernie Sanders is taking away the idea that he's made tremendous inroads. He got young people to come out, but he couldn't beat the Clinton machine. I mean, the fact is there's a winner and there's a loser. In the long haul, I don't know if Iowa's going to make any difference at all, especially when it's that close. She leaves the state with one more delegate than her competitor. Lanny Davis, vice president of Levick, joins us, a longtime Clinton associate and friend of mine. Lanny, good to have you with us.
Hi, Ed. Quite a night. I just got in from Des Moines through Chicago and beat the snowstorm, but it was quite a storm last night at the caucuses that I attended.
What about the turnout? I mean, was it a record turnout? Do you know? I mean, and the enthusiasm seemed to be pretty much up there.
Great news for the Democratic Party of Iowa. I think we will carry the state in the general election, based upon what I saw and the hundreds and hundreds of people who turned out in this very small working class, primarily precinct. Actually, there were two precincts meeting where I was, and the enthusiasm for both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders was inspiring. And I just thought to myself, we're going to carry the state of Iowa. I think the answer to your question is it was slightly less than the record-breaking turnout in 2008 when Barack Obama began his fantastic magical mystery tour that ended up at 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue. So it was a little bit below that. I think it was about 180, 190,000 compared to the 220 in 2008.
Okay. Lanny, how confident are you that Hillary Clinton can win New Hampshire? Is this going to erase some poll numbers? Is this going to be a new ray of light in New Hampshire? She's won New Hampshire in the past. She won it in 2008, although she's trailing by double digits right now. What do you make of it?
You know, I think she still has a chance, given that I'd given up hope in 2008 when she came in third place in Iowa. And the polls immediately turned around, and Barack Obama, on the day after Iowa, gained a 14% advantage, having been down a good amount. So that was an amazing swing towards Obama. And then she came back in that final weekend and won by a narrow margin, as everyone remembers, literally off the mat. So right now, Bernie Sanders does have some momentum, did excellently in Iowa. Didn't win, but came close. And he's a neighboring state. He is the third senator from the state of New Hampshire, media market, and in many other ways. And as you know, no neighboring state presidential candidate in either party has ever lost the New Hampshire presidential primary other than Ted Kennedy, who was running against an incumbent president, Jimmy Carter. So we have a sense that Bernie Sanders is in home territory and that it'll be tough for Hillary Clinton to come back the way she did in 08. But I know she left late last night and started early this morning with little sleep, so you know she's busting her tail.
All right. South Carolina is not too far down the road, and neither is Nevada. What if it's one state per candidate so far? Iowa to Clinton, New Hampshire to Sanders. If it does that, how confident are you that she's going to be able to make the big run? Or I mean, you know, you have to give credit to Sanders as to what has happened. But do you think he's a long haul guy?
Look, I respect him, and his message is powerful, and I watch his TV commercials, and it's all inspirational. But I don't think he will be able to defeat Hillary Clinton in the long haul, meaning in all the other major states, starting with South Carolina, where the African-American vote shows itself to be something like 80% in favor of Hillary Clinton, and the African American vote in most southern states are indicating strong support for Clinton and a majority of primary voters. So that's a great part of her base now, and she also has shown a great deal of strength among working people and seniors. Where she's shown weakness in Iowa was really among the younger people who were very inspired by his message. She's got a lot of more work to do among younger millennials. But right now, if you're betting on the long game, Ed, I think she's got the advantages over Senator Sanders, but that's not to say that he isn't going to be competitive. All
right. Lanny Davis, always good to visit. I know you're working hard on the trail for Clinton. All the best to you. We'll visit again. Thanks so much.
Hope you bet. Be on again. Thank you.
You bet. When we come back, Richard Viguerie, his take on Ted Cruz, because it was Mr. Viguerie, the godfather of the conservative movement, who some 6 months ago told us that, Ed, I think it's going to be Ted Cruz. He'll join us when we come back.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
So we've seen that one of the biggest factors here is the people that voted for you said you shared their values.
Yeah.
So the New York values attack worked.
You know, what's interesting is as I travel the country here in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, everyone knows what New York values are. I can't tell you how many New Yorkers tell me I'm a New Yorker and I'm with you. I know exactly what New York values are, and I can't stand them. It's the values of the elite liberal politicians that have done enormous damage to New York, and they're a bunch of cops and firemen and hardworking men and women in the greatest state of New York who are fed up with the out-of-touch values of Manhattan.
Ted Cruz surprising the political world with an upset in the Iowa caucus last night. Is he following the footsteps of Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum? Other conservatives have won it in the past and fallen by the wayside. But is this movement, if you may call it that Cruz is putting together with the hard right wing in this country, who's anti-immigration, is he going to be the ticket? Well, 6 months ago on this production, Richard Viguerie, I call him the godfather of the conservative movement and chairman of the conservativehq.com, he told us that the only true conservative in this whole thing was the man who won last night, Ted Cruz. Mr. Viguerie, good to have you with us.
Always a pleasure, Ed. And I also said that this was really a two-way race, and by mid-March it would be seen that way, and it may be seen that way a lot sooner. It's just between the establishment candidate Rubio and the conservative Cruz.
Is this the unraveling of Donald Trump? Let's start there. He has been leading in every poll, but is it his naivety when it comes to politics and operating a political campaign that ended up shortchanging him in Iowa? What do you make of it?
Well, it's many things. Ed, it reminds me of Kipling's story, The Man Who Would Be King, and he was king until they saw that he bled, and gods don't bleed. So I think last night we saw Trump bleed, and I think it's going to continue. Nobody's come after Trump ideologically, and Cruz has been doing that, and a lot of us, myself and others, have been going after him on the moral issues, and talk about New York values. The moral issues loom, loud and clear out there. We're all sinners, Ed, but Trump brags about it. I mean, it's just amazing. So anyway, I think that he will begin to dissipate as the conservatives move towards Cruz and the establishment candidate, moderates, Republicans move towards Rubio.
What did you make of Rubio's? When I was in Iowa this weekend, I did hear on the ground that, folks were hearing a lot about Rubio and he was really on the move. Personally, I can't stand the guy. I don't think he's accomplished anything, but whatever. But he can get up and talk. I give him credit for that. But, you know, is it going to be Cruz and Rubio? And what do you make of Rubio's third-place finish and not far behind Trump?
Well, no question, that was one of the two major surprises. You know, the three surprises, I guess, to be all three top candidates were surprises in one way or another. You've got, as you just said, Rubio is incredibly articulate, as is Cruz, both of them. And here you've got two young Cuban Americans. This is just fascinating. It showed a number of things last night, Ed. It showed that you can attack Trump and win. You can attack crony government-subsidized ethanol and win. When conservatives are united, they win. Religious liberty is going to be a huge issue in this election. And so there's just a lot of things shaping up here.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting you say religious liberty, because here are the three things that we know Trump did in the last week before the Iowa caucus. He said no to a debate on Fox. He brought in Sarah Palin, who many people think didn't do much for him. And then he held up the Bible, saying that he would never let evangelicals down. And I took that to believe, well, he's definitely against abortion. Because there's no absolute, that's an absolute when it comes to the conservative movement in this country. So, and then I go to the ground on Iowa, and I'm told repeatedly that the evangelicals didn't buy that. What's your take on it?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Cruz's father is an evangelical pastor, and Bob Vanderplaat organized the evangelicals, the religious, social, cultural conservatives there, like they've never been organized before. And in terms of Ed, you mentioned that Huckabee won in 2008 and disappeared after that, and Santorum the same. As I've said a number of times on your show, everybody acknowledges, Republicans and Democrats, Cruz has the best organized campaign across the country. He's highly organized in New Hampshire and South Carolina. He's got more donors than any other Republican candidate running this year. He's raised more super PAC money, except for Bush, and so he's got a wonderful, strong campaign out there. So he's just getting a good head of steam, and this is going to be a really, really fascinating race here. This could be the most ideological race maybe ever in our lifetime, Ed, if either Hillary or Sanders out there on the Democratic side, and with Cruz possibly on the Republican side. This will be an ideological election that maybe will settle once and for all. Is America a right-of-center country or a left-of-center country?
Interesting take, and so profound. You know, if it is Sanders, there is no question about that. I think that Hillary is a little bit more centrist and right than Bernie Sanders. But, yeah, this is a political divide election. There's no question about it. What does it say to you that young people have put Bernie Sanders in this position? Where are those young people supporting Ted Cruz? Where are the young conservatives?
Well, that part hasn't been engaged yet, but I guarantee you Cruz is one smart candidate, as we can all acknowledge, and I guarantee you he's going to be out there talking about Sanders, free education, free health care, free this, that. Who's going to pay for that? Well, these 20-year-olds are going to be paying for it. The 30-year-olds, for the next 30, 40 years of their life, they're going to be paying for it. And that debate has not been engaged, but I guarantee you it will be before the election day in November.
And I'm going to give you a real good comment before you leave, Mr. Viguerie. You can either pay for war or for education. There's your choice, whatever you want.
How about pay for peace, as Reagan did?
Right. Richard Viguerie, always a pleasure. Got to get you on TV. You've called it, and your insights are fascinating. I appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Ed. Bye.
You bet. When we come back, Larry Cohen, former president, Communication Workers of America, and now the chairman of the Democracy Initiative, and he is very involved in the Sanders campaign. Where does it go? How is it a victory? I mean, I think, you can 0.2%. I don't know what that means. I don't know how anybody can spike the football on that. It's just a marathon. It ain't a sprint. We're right back. Stay with us.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
On the ground in Iowa before the caucus, Congressman Keith Ellison, who has been a staunch supporter of Bernie Sanders, told me this.
Congressman, what's ignited the younger demographic? Is it the free tuition? Is it the education focus by Sanders?
You know what? I think policy stuff like tuition is key, but more than that, it's sort of a feeling of authenticity, sincerity, and just sort of commitment to the people's agenda. Just like the stuff you've always stood for. I mean, people can tell you this policy thing, but underneath all that is a spirit, and that is that, man, I believe in this country. I believe that the best days are yet to come, and I'm not settling. You know, I just heard one candidate say we could never, ever have single payer. Never, ever? That's not the campaign of yes, we can. That's the campaign of no, we can't, and I'm not for it.
But let's turn now to Larry Cohen, who's with the Sanders Campaign as a surrogate. Larry, good to have you with us.
My pleasure.
Break it down for us. Who wins, who loses? Are there any losers in such a razor-tight finish in Iowa?
Well, I mean, Bernie, the way our campaign came from behind to essentially tie, is awesome and amazing, and people are really pumped up and excited. You know, I think we see a significant victory in New Hampshire by many, many points, not decimal points. So, you know, there's no loser here per se, but I certainly think, we gained a lot more. But more importantly, the country gains the opportunity here for real change instead of just defense.
So you think the country is grasping, where did Sanders come from? He's for real. I mean, he's right there. It's a photo finish. It's a historic finish. You think they'll gather that and grasp it and understand what it really means? I mean, when you start out 50 points down, and then 5 months later you're right at the photo finish and can't call it the night of the caucus, that's pretty amazing.
Totally amazing. And I might add, somewhat sadly, the Republican caucus, you add up the number of people who caucus for each candidate, and then they take a percentage of the number of people who caucus. The Democratic caucus, nobody could explain how many people showed up for each candidate the way it's done. And, our opinion is, not that there's sour grapes, we knew these were the Democratic Party rules, that we had significantly more people caucus for Bernie than for Hillary Clinton.
You know that for sure?
No, because the caucus chairs can't report. This is a problem with the Democratic Party.
Sure.
Caucus chairs can't report the actual count. They only report, essentially how many delegates they have and how those delegates are apportioned. So they actually apportion them there. So you could have 1,000 people show up in a room, and what gets reported is, 6-5 or 5-4.
I find it interesting that Secretary Clinton comes out and declares victory last night before anybody else did. And then it wasn't confirmed until, 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it's 0.2%. I don't know. That's having a crystal ball or a hell of a lot of confidence. I don't know what it is, but I find that rather amazing.
People don't realize 0.2% of the delegate count for county conventions. There's going to be an exact tie in terms of the 44 delegates that were elected who actually go to Philadelphia in July. It's going to be 22-22. And what we're talking about is, I didn't see the exact number of delegates, but it's probably a difference of 5 or 6 delegates out of thousands to 99 different county conventions. There's no victory. It's basically a mathematical tie.
Mm-hmm. Where does it go from here? There's got to be a strong focus on South Carolina and Nevada if Bernie's doing well in New Hampshire. What do you make of the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only Nevada and South Carolina. It's March 1st, and then we get to big states: Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Florida, and then soon after New York. So, I mean, I think you're going to see the kind of momentum that we saw in New York City when 5,000 younger voters marched Saturday night, totally spontaneously, throughout Manhattan for Bernie. I think this energy level is going to spread. I saw it in Austin, Texas, not this past Saturday, but the one before. A live stream of Bernie to volunteers, and I was with 1,600, mostly young volunteers in Austin, Texas, outside, temperature in the 40s. 400 of them registered to vote for the first time. 800 of them volunteered for 2.5 hours 2 hours a week until March 1st. I think this energy is going to sweep the country.
Great to have you with us, Larry Cohen. Keep up the fight, and I know you're going to stay on the road. Bernie Sanders saying today that we're going to the convention, that he's going to fight this thing all the way, and this is a photo. It could be another photo finish in some of these other key states as well, but I think everybody expects Bernie to win New Hampshire, where Hillary did win in 2008. We'll see how it goes. Larry, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Former President, Communication Workers of America, with us, Larry Cohen. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team bring you this production. We'll see you on the tube tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern on RT America. You can get it at RT.com. Watch it live. It looks great. And then also you get it on Dish and Direct Satellite. We're back tomorrow.